So Alan Hollins, he's got some really funny, good parts to him that's very entertaining, and he's got an addiction problem. He did not tell me that he did heroin. We met on a dating site, but he was a local, so we both had friends in common, and we met up at the VMFA, and then we walked to my apartment. I said, "I like you. I'll take you back to my apartment." And we sat outside and talked for a couple hours. And I showed him my matchbooks, and I gave him a little kiss on the lips. And I don't remember this, but he said I called him the next morning, and he came over, and we had sex. But we sat out for 2 hours talking, and he could have shared that, but he didn't. Of course, I told him I suffer bipolar. I have to take medicine. I just feel like it's kind of like get it up front. Don't feel like you're roping the person in, because that feels manipulative. So I just tell them up front. And I guess, a number of occasions happened where we got together. The one time he hit me after he was working on a movie set. He was working on a movie set, Loving, I believe. But I was living at his house paying him some rent. I was trying to not pay as much rent because I don't know, I thought I needed more money. And my apartment that I was living in it's kind of rather large for one person. And I didn't know he had started to do heroin again, but he had, and he headbutted me. And I moved out. I moved out and got an apartment of my own. Then that didn't work out, so I moved again. The girl was kind of weird, strange, very strange. She only let me live there a month, and then the other person was coming back. And Alan came by, and he was so skinny, and he was definitely on heroin. But I drove. I said, I think I should drive. And I drove him to the Krispy Kreme donuts. We got a donut. I think it was freezing cold winter. I was at George's house, and there was no heat, and I couldn't get warm. And Alan came over to check on me, and then he said I could move into his house that had heat. So that's when I went back. I think, there was a friend of his, a young guy, and we were sitting at a restaurant, a Mexican restaurant called In Su Boca, and he was eating and his tooth fell out. That's a fucking nightmare to be sitting there eating with a group of people and have your tooth fall out. I don't know, maybe it's hereditary or maybe it's his diet, because I'm pretty careful with my diet. I got good eating habits to stay healthy. But, that was a horrible scene. That was just like, I hoped he could get off of it, but it just wore me out. And I realized that even if he could get off of it, I never wanted to have to go through that again. And I believe he's had relapses at least 4 times where he gets off and then goes back on. I'd say he's bipolar too, with depression, because he's been suicidal. He went down to the islands and he wasn't. Dominican Republic. He went down there for a month, and I could tell he felt better. But yeah, he's a force to be contended with at times. Now I avoid him, and he's not attractive to me at all. Before I didn't know stuff and things like that, and I kind of dug into that piece of chocolate before. I learned. I have no problem, and I also took him around my son James, so James will never do heroin because he sees what it does. And Alan could do that with his life, his prevention of heroin addiction, and show people his scars and tell his story and stuff like that. A lot of it I stayed in to try to reunite him with his kids until I realized that just can't be done, not with his addiction.